Good afternoon and welcome to WTF Dog Training, where only the truth matters. I'm Graham. I'm a master dog trainer and canine behaviourist. I've had 30 years experience in dog training. Today, what I want to talk about is I'm still seeing collars being brought up that I think shouldn't actually be on the market. But there you are. These things are dangerous. Dangerous collars. Let's have a look at what we're talking about. Over in America, what they tend to use is what's called adverse training techniques. That's pain training to you and me, using pain to train our dogs. Because of YouTube and Facebook and things like that, people are starting to look at these videos and starting to think about, is this right for my dog? Well, honestly, it's not right for your dog. Whatever you're talking about, whether it's adverse training, pain training, or what we call alpha-based training. What we use at the Happy Dog Training Academy, that I'm the head of training of, we use positive and negative reinforcements for our dogs. Positive and negative reinforcements. But let's get into this, the collars that we're talking about. It's called a prong collar or a pinch collar. I have one here for you. Let me just reach over and get it for you. This is what people would class as a pinch collar or prong collar. Basically, it's almost like a martingale collar because it has the chain on it, around it, but the main weapons are these teeth on it, these prongs. There you can see the prongs. They're quite sharp prongs. They usually have rubber tips on, but the trainers tend to take the rubber tips off because they give a bit more of a pinch, if you like. But that's how they use them. They use them like this, you see. Put the lead on this end, and then that goes around the dog's neck. And as it pulls, it pinches these together, causing pain for the dog. A lot of dog trainers will show you, and they'll tell you that these don't cause pain. These cause just a little bit of discomfort. But look at these prongs and tell me they would cause a little bit of discomfort. And you'll see them on the internet, you'll see them on YouTube, and they put them around their own neck. Usually got the rubber tips on, but even if they haven't, they put them on their own neck, and they go, oh look, see, it doesn't cause any pain, doesn't cause any pain. Just little taps like this. That's not how they use them when they're training dogs. They give great big yanks on them, they yank them, and that pushes into the dog's neck, pinches them, or sticks in the dog's neck. I've got a picture, one or two pictures here that I'm going to upload of dogs that I've seen occasionally for behaviour problems. I've seen these things. If you have a look at our YouTube videos, you'll see that we've actually demonstrated it using a melon, and you can have a look at the video there. That's a prong collar. If anybody tells you to use a prong collar, or advises a prong collar, or indeed a trainer gets one of these out, walk away. Don't bother trying to train with one of these things. These are horrible medieval devices. That's what they are. They're horrible things to use. I would never ever use one. I bought this one recently just to demonstrate and just to show you what they are, because a lot of people don't realise nasty old things. That's a prong collar. Moving on. Back in the sort of 1980s, when I was training, we used to use things, what was called a check collar. A lot of people used to call them chokers, but they were never ever designed to be choke chains. They're called check chains. They're not quite so bad. The main problem with check chains is that they tend to cut the dog's fur at the side of the neck wherever you're walking. It tends to fray the neck. That's what we found back in the sort of 80s and early 90s when we was using them. But this is one that I'm going to show you. This is one that I've recently bought. This one is called a check chain. Okay, it's got two rings on the end. There you go, the two rings on the end of it, and that's basically what it is. It's just a chain. This one's got a name tag in the middle, but the problem is, if you don't know how to use them properly, you get them on wrong, and then they do become a choke chain. So I'll just show you what I mean. So you get the ring on the end, and you put the chain through the ring. So it goes through the ring like this, okay, and it goes to the other end, making a nice loop. Now then, if you get the ring, this end where the tag is, that's attached to the collar. That's attached to the lead, I should say. That's attached to the lead. And as you see, it comes in and it goes over the dog's head, over the dog's head. So it comes in there and over the dog's head. That's the correct way to use it. Check chain now would be for a dog that's walking on my left, yeah, on the left hand side. And when you see the check comes, when it checks, it releases itself. So check, release, check, release. That's how it's supposed to work, okay? And that's for a dog working on the left. If your dog turns over and starts walking on the right, then it's wrong and it won't work. The check chain won't work on the wrong side. It's made for one side of the dog. let me explain what I mean. If I turn this round now and turn it the other way, so now you see that the chain itself is going underneath the dog. So the lead is attached to this end and it goes underneath the dog here and round the dog's neck, so it goes under the dog's neck. Now it's no longer a check chain because it can't release itself. When the dog checks now, it stays where it is. It checks and it stays, and then it becomes a choke chain. You can see it's not releasing itself. Every time you check it, it's not releasing itself. So then it becomes a choke chain, okay? But it's actually a check chain. It works for the dog on the left or the right, whichever you like, but it must go over the dog's head. When it goes over the dog's head, it releases itself and becomes a check chain. It check and it releases, check and it releases, check and it releases. Turn it around the other way, as I say, where it goes underneath the dog and then check and it doesn't release itself. Then it becomes a choke chain, okay? That's how you use these devices, the check chains, okay? We used to use these many times. I've used these back in the sort of 80s, early 90s. But we don't use these anymore. Another device that came from America is one of these things. This one, okay? This is a shock collar. This is called a shock collar. So you can see it's got two little prongs on there. You light it up, switch it on, and it lights up. And these two prongs deliver electric shock. One's negative, one's positive. Okay, your dog is grounded because it's on the floor. When you press the button, which is on the remote here, so this will be the remote for it. Okay, battery up a remote. You've got various settings, but it's a shock collar. Okay, it also got a light on it to show you where the dog is, but most people don't use them. This one's designed for two collars. But basically, when you press the button, it sends a shock to your dog. This one works over about 150 meters or so. Have I used one in the past? Yeah, I've used it occasionally in the past. I think I've used it 3 or 4 times maybe in my 30 years career. And it's certain dogs. It's not too bad if you've got a hunting dog and they're in the woods and you want to teach them to recall. You know, you can start teaching them this. But the thing is, with these shock collars, you've got to be trained how to use them. They're not just simple things you buy off the internet and you use. This one, I think this one was about £200-300, something like that. But it's a proper device, okay? You get a lot from China, which don't deliver an adequate shock or it's too much, okay? This one will go from 0 to 99, and I use it around about number 6, I think, number 6 or number 7. But this one will work at number 6 or number 7 every single time. The ones you get from China, because they're not manufactured very well at all, put it on number 6 and it could be delivering 99 to your dog. It's inconsistent, okay? So get a really good one. But first of all, before you even think about getting a shock collar, make sure you're trained in using a shock collar. See a behaviourist that knows about shock collars, because you've got to be trained to use these properly. Otherwise, you can hurt your dog or you can scare your dog, and it doesn't work on every single thing. Things like, let's say, reactivity. These will not work on reactivity. These will not work on dogs pulling. Okay, they won't stop your dog from pulling. They'll just make it pull harder because it's getting a shock. It won't work on reactive, because if a dog barks and your dog is reactive, you shock it, it will think that that dog has done the shock. Okay, and that will make it worse. It works on things like maybe a recall, and that's about all I've ever used it on. And that's a shock collar. Okay, so don't use a shock collar. They're medieval device as well, sending shocks to your dog. You didn't buy a dog to shock him. But what can you use? Well, there's nothing on the market that will teach your dog to walk to heel. Nothing at all. You've got to teach your dog to walk to heel. You can use things like anti-pull harnesses, anti-pull leads, anti-pull this, anti-pull that. They don't work. They're not going to work. They're not designed to work. You've got to teach your dog to walk to heel. Okay, if you don't want them to walk to heel, you've got to teach your dog to walk to heel. But what we can use, this is what we tend to use, and this is called a martingale collar. Okay, a martingale collar is simply almost like a check chain, if you like. So these two rings here, this one and this one, they go together, and that would be your dog's neck size. Okay, so you put that on your dog's neck nice and comfortable. Now, when it's on the dog's neck at that size, it will be normal black collar. But when you've got attached to the lead, which you attach it to this part of the ring here, on this part, round your dog's neck, now you've got a, what we would say, a check chain. So when you check it, it releases. Check it, it releases. Check it, it releases. Doesn't matter which way you put it. This time, check it, it releases. Check it, releases. That teaches your dog to walk to heel. And what we tend to use in our classes is we use the chain. So we ask the dog to watch me. That's what we say, not heel. We say watch me. And the dog turns his head to watch you, give him a treat. Watch me, give him a treat. Watch me, give me a treat. Yeah. So he learns that watch me means treat. Then we put these on, the martingale collar. Now the chain makes a noise as it runs up itself. Makes a slight noise. You'll be able to hear it here. So that's the noise, and that's right near your dog's ear. Remember, that's right next to the dog's ear. So when you say, watch me, watch me, watch me, the dog hears that noise. Watch me, watch me, watch me. And over a period of time, it doesn't work overnight, but over time, when the dog hears this noise from the chain, he turns around to look at you because it's associated the chain noise with the treat. Okay, you start off with the treats and then you start reducing the treats down until you get watch me, good boy, watch me, good boy, and good boy becomes a treat. And then when he hears the chain, watch me, watch me, watch me, he turns to look here and then he's by your side, walking to heel. So that's what we tend to train with, called a martingale collar. Okay, so they're the types of collars that we use or can use. Some we don't use and some I would never use. But believe me, don't use things like shock collars, prong collars. They're no good for your dog. If you must use something, then a check chain, yeah, you can still buy them. £5 or £6, maybe £8, depending on the size of your dog. A shock collar, a good shock collar will cost you £300 or £400, and hopefully you wouldn't need it that long. And then you can have one £300 or £400 that's stuck in the drawer, because you don't need them long if you're trained how to use them. The check chain, I'll say £8 to £10. Martingale collar, £8 to £14 maybe. That sort of price. Pinch collars, prong collars, get a decent one. You're probably looking at maybe £15, £20, £30 for a decent one. But again, don't use them. They don't need to. You didn't buy a dog to give him pain. You didn't buy a dog to suffer. You didn't buy a dog to scared of you. You don't want a dog scared of you or nervous or shy. You want a dog that's just a sociable animal. Watch our videos, like and share for more of our videos on constructive criticisms, on dog training, and we'll give you some really professional advice, and it's the truth that matters. Okay? Speak to you soon. Have a good day.